Hello everyone, welcome to a new video, and before you leave the video please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Anyway, we're assessing image quality on these three lenses at 300mm. So here we have the Sigma Contemporary 150 to 600, testing it at 300mm, the Canon 100 to 400 Mark II EF lenses, obviously all these are EF lenses, at 300mm, testing image quality to see how it tallies up with the Sigma Contemporary. And here we have my new acquisition, the, as I call it, the Canon Bigma. It's a 2.8 300 Mark II IS lens, and as you can see it's quite a hefty piece of glass, and that's a 300 2.8 lens. And I'm testing image quality of all three of these to see how they tally up with each other. You may have seen a controversial video that I did regarding the Contemporary 150 to 600 Sigma lens versus the Canon 100 to 400 Mark II at 400mm. We tested both of these two lenses against each other, and the Sigma in the corners came on top. However, I thought it'd be interesting to do a 300mm comparison test in all three lenses and have a look. The results surprised me incredibly, and I was extremely surprised. So let's just jump to the lens sharpness test card. Here we're looking at three lenses: the Canon 300 2.8 Mark II IS-L lens, the 100 400 Mark II, the all EF lenses, and the Sigma Contemporary 150 to 600, all at 300mm. Yes, there is a bit of focus briefing with the Canon 100 400 as well as a little bit with the Sigma. Obviously the prime lens doesn't have any focus briefing problems here. And I want to have a look at sharpness, pure sharpness. We'll look at focus speeds later on, but I just want to have a look at the sharpness of this lens, this prime lens. So let's just zoom right in there, all the way at 200%. Looks good. Let's have a look at the Canon 100 400 Mark II, again at 200%. Looks good. And the Sigma Contemporary, zoom in there, 200%, and they all seem to look really good in terms of quality. That's the 300 prime, 100 to 400. Obviously it seems a bit smaller, but again it's focus briefing. And the Sigma Contemporary, which seems a bit more zoomed in than the Canon, to be honest with you. And they are very, very comparable with each other in the centre. I'd say the Canon 100 400 and the 300 prime are pretty much equal in terms of sharpness in the centre. And the Sigma, it seems pretty much comparable as well. It seems a tad bit softer, if I'm honest with you. Not by much, but it does seem a bit softer. So let's go right down into the corner here. This is the Sigma. Let's have a look at the Canon 100 to 400 Mark II. Now, you may have seen my other video where I compared the 100 400 Mark II versus the Sigma at 400mm, and the Sigma was sharper in the corners. Things have changed a little bit, I think, looking at these images. So let's just get the prime lens down to the far corner. So that's the 300. Clearly you can see good pattern detail in the box there, and these numbers look well defined, as well as the pin here, it's holding it up, looks nice. Looking at the 100 to 400, I would say it's not as quite as tack sharp as the 300, and we've lost a tiny bit of pattern detail there. Just go back to the 300 prime. It does seem a bit brighter as well in terms of exposure. So obviously there's better light transference in the prime than you get in the 100 to 400 Mark II. But then again, it's got more glass in it, just remember that. So it seems a tad bit softer, but let's have a look at the Contemporary lens. And I have to be honest with you, it looks quite bad in the corners at 300mm, and this is something that really surprised me. You know, the Sigma Contemporary did really well at 400mm. Change that down to 300, it's quite bad. I was absolutely shocked when I saw this. I couldn't believe it. Let's have a look at those rings that I'm quite popular with. Interest me a lot. These sharpness rings here. Just to give you an idea whereabouts it is. It's here. So let's just zoom in there. It's not too far from the centre. So let's have a look at 300%. So you can see that in the video, because I know sometimes it's not always that clear in the YouTube videos. Let's have a look at the 100 to 400 again. Let's just bring that up to 300% and do the same for the Sigma Contemporary. And let's go in there at 300%. So let's have a look at the prime. You can see lots of detail there, and it looks nice and sharp. The 100 to 400, it's very close. I don't think it's quite as sharp as the prime, but it's very close to it. And the Sigma Contemporary 150 to 600, which I've touted as an extremely sharp lens, at 300mm, and it is considerably softer. All these images are f8 at the sharp, so all these lenses should be amazingly sharp, and you can clearly see that we're not getting the sharpness in the Sigma lens, which is sort of a little bit shocking. I did not expect that. So let's have a look at this number 4 on the bottom part of the frame. Just find it for the other lenses so you can see a good transition from them. So this is the prime. It's rendering those lines pretty well. I don't see any problems, nice and sharp. Let's have a look at the 100 to 400. It's not quite as zoomed in, but that's because we've got a bit of focus breathing. Again, it seems nice and sharp. Let's have a look at the Sigma. Sigma is producing some good results, but I don't know. Make your own mind up, guys. It's very close. So that's the prime. That's the Canon zoom. And this is the Sigma Contemporary. Very close. I think we're seeing the results in the corners, if I'm honest with you. Let's go up to the top part of the frame here, where we have another pin and some numbers. Sorry, letters. So let's do the same for the 100 to 400 Mark IIL. Top corner, where you can see that pin in the paper and these letters. And again, do the same in the top corner for the prime 300 L lens. So that's the results from the 300 prime. I think you're getting good results there. The 100 to 400 Mark IIL, very close. I do think light transmission is still better on the 300 because it's got less elements, it transfers more light to the sensor. And let's have a look at the 150 to 600 Sigma Contemporary lens. And it is noticeably worse. And you can clearly see that. A lot worse. So, 300 prime, 100 to 400 Mark II. I think they're equally as sharp as each other, if I'm honest with you. They look equally as sharp as each other, the prime and the zoom at 300mm. But looking at the contemporary lens, it's noticeably quite bad. So let's just fit to screen on all three. Remember, these images are all at f8. I'm just going to try and pick something else out to see if we can see any difference. So I like to sometimes look at these rings here. So let's zoom in there at 300%. Do the same here. 300%, and the Sigma Contemporary 300%. So that's the prime. That's the 100 to 400. And that's the Sigma Contemporary. I think in the centre, these three lenses are not that dissimilar from each other. However, when you start going out to the outer edges, then things change significantly. So before I wrap this video up, I just want to go down to those boxes where the patterns are, so you can see the detail that is being represented by these lenses. Again, I'm using the EOS R mirrorless camera. So again, this is 300mm, remember. So let's have a look at the prime 300. It looks nice and bright, good exposure, good detail. Pattern detail is obvious and clear there. Let's have a look at the 100 to 400 Mark IIL. It's not as sharp as the 300, to be honest with you. Let's just go back. A good way of seeing how sharp it is to have a look and see if you can see pattern detail around the 1. So let's just go back. You can clearly see there's more pattern detail there going around the 1. It's like a weaving pattern that goes around the 1. So that's the 300 2.8 f8. This is the 100 400. It's not as sharp, you can clearly see that. Let's have a look at the Sigma 150 to 600. And it clearly is softer. So this is interesting actually. The Sigma Contemporary at 300mm looks pretty bad, if I'm honest with you. Advice I would give is stick to 400mm and above. I would have suspected it'd be even worse at 150, but I haven't done the test for that as yet. And you know, if you want me to do a test at 150mm versus the 100mm, or say on the Canon 100 to 400 at 150, if I can figure out the focal length, we could do a comparison at the shorter end if you want. But again, yeah, as you can see, the prime is a lot sharper. The Canon 100 to 400, while not being quite as sharp in the corners, does do a good, you know, does give you some good results in the centre, obviously. Can we pick something else out? Let's see. Let's have a look at this spiral pattern at 300mm. Let's have a look at the spiral here on the prime and the Sigma, because it's more central. It'll give you an idea on sharpness in the central part. So the prime, we get good detail. The 100 400, good detail. I think they're pretty much comparable with each other. I'd find it hard to pick a difference apart from the exposure and the focus breathing issue. Let's have a look at the 150 to 600. Again, it doesn't look too bad either in the centre. So that's the Sigma Contemporary 150 to 600, 100 to 400 Mark IIL EF lens, and the EF 300 prime 2.8 lens. Okay, hopefully those examples were helpful to you, and thanks for watching. So, in conclusion, you've just seen the examples. I was shocked to determine that at 300mm, the Sigma Contemporary lens was quite bad. And I've upheld this lens up as an example to say it's incredibly sharp. It's one of the sharpest lenses I've ever owned. And true, at 400, 500, 600mm lens. So you're seeing the examples, guys. at 300mm, and I must admit I was shocked. I was sort of half expecting the Sigma lens to beat these Canon lenses because of my past experience doing testing at 400mm. However, at 300mm, the Sigma Contemporary lens is quite bad, really. It shocked me, to be honest with you. The fact it does so well at 400, 500, 600mm, you would have thought that would translate to being fantastic at 300mm, but that's not the case. And for those of you who are interested in the Canon 100 to 400 2L and the 300 2.8, to be honest with you, these two lenses are pretty much neck and neck when it comes to image quality. I found that's in the centre. I found that in the corners, clearly the prime lens has the image quality there. But when you look at centre sharpness, these two lenses are pretty much neck and neck. I couldn't tell them apart. The Sigma Contemporary does quite well as well in the central part of the frame. And I did notice there was a slight difference in exposure as well, where the Canon lenses seem to represent whites better than the Sigma lens did. So there you go, there's the results. So clearly the Canon 300 prime is significantly the better lens in all around edge to edge sharpness. But when you compare centre sharpness alone, the Canon zoom lens actually is pretty much equal to the prime lens. It's only when you start looking in the edges, the outer edges, that the sharpness of the prime comes into its own, and you can see the pattern detail in the boxes. So the roundup here is to suggest that if you want edge to edge sharpness, get a prime. But if you do want some centre sharpness at 300mm, the 100 400 2L is certainly a good lens to go for. Surprisingly, the Sigma Contemporary at 300mm was quite a poor showing. These videos that I do is to show you the examples, and it's for you to make your own mind up. I'm not here to bash Canon and say this lens is bad, go for that lens. You know, I just want to show you the truth, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that don't do lens sharpness tests, who use real world examples, use real world different images to try and compare, and you can't do that. You need to test images at the same aperture, same shutter speed, same ISO, same subject matter, same static images if you want to test sharpness. Obviously, if you want to test the autofocus performance, you need to look at real world examples, and things move and change. I understand that, but when you're testing pure sharpness, you need to do it in a controlled environment, and that's why I do lens sharpness tests. So here you can see that the Canon zoom and the Canon prime are fantastic at 300mm. The Sigma Contemporary at 300mm was quite disappointing, really. So there you go, there's the results. Hope you found this video informative, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, and have a nice day. Please, before you go, remember to like the video and subscribe. I would appreciate that, and I'll see you in another one. I think what we'll do next time is we'll look at the extender and compare that to the RF600 and see how that compares with the prime 300 2.8 lens with extender on. So we'll put them two lenses head to head. I'll also look at the Sigma at 600mm again for you guys. I know there's a lot of you that are doubters of some of the results I come up with, but you know, I just try and show you the results. You know, it's up to you to make your own mind. See you in the next video, and have a nice day. Bye bye.